Welcome to round 11 of the 2016 edition of Lachie's Weekly Footy Roundup, as we'll be taking a look at the results, predictions from round 10, results in the ladder after round 10, and predictions for round 11. Anyways, let's start. Friday night, Sydney versus North Melbourne at the SCG. Well, something tragic has happened in this world this week. Can you guess what it is? Was it a incident that happened at well, North Melbourne have lost. North Melbourne have lost their first game of 2016. They lose by 26 against the Swans. Well, that's their hopes of an undefeated season, well, finished. Look at the player stats for this game. Well, Tom Mitchell, what a game from him. 41 disposals, 10 tackles and a goal. Josh Kennedy with 35 disposals, 12 tackles. 26 of the 35 disposals were from handballs. And 129 points in fantasy. Kieran Jack, another good game from him. 26 disposals, 13 tackles. Buddy Franklin had 3 goals, 15 disposals, and 7 marks. Dan Hanbury with 34 disposals and a goal. 21 of them came from handballs. North Melbourne's best on the ground was Andrew Swallow with 17 disposals and 12 tackles. Now for the multiple goal kickers. We already mentioned Buddy kicking 3. Jared McVeigh kicked 2 for the Swans, and the only multiple goal kicker for North was Lindsay Thomas. Now we move on to the next game. Brisbane and Hawthorn at the Gabba. How many people are in attendance? Geez, Brisbane's crowds are only just dropping. Feels like only 9,000 turned up. Seems like at this time football in Queensland was not a very good place. Jordan Lewis had a great game, 42 disposals, 9 clearances and a goal. He might be Hawthorn's best and fairest this year. Josh Gibson with 26 disposals and 7 tackles had 7 marks down back. Well, what a game from Cyril. 5 goals and 19 touches. Brisbane's best on the ground was Dane Zorko with 23 disposals, 9 tackles and 2 goals. While Pierce Handley had a lazy 25 touches and 5 tackles. Now for the multiple goal kickers. Tom Bell kicked 4 for the Lions. Lewis Taylor kicked 3. Dane Zorko and Josh Schache with 2 goals each. As per Hawthorn, we got 3 from Ben McAvoy with 14 hitouts. 2 to Piopolo, Hill, Gunston and Bruce. Suppose if Gunston and Bruce are gonna keep playing like this for a long time, and if Hawthorn's youngsters can become really solid, well, look out for the Hawks for so many years to come. Anyways, next game. Melbourne and Port Adelaide up in Alice Springs. First game of the season in the Northern Territory. Melbourne had a great first quarter and a bit. Then after all that, Port Adelaide ran away with it. Max Gawn had a great game both for Melbourne, 18 disposals, 48 hitouts and 2 goals. Once again, Port Adelaide still have not fixed their ruck issue. As for Port, their best player was Chad Wingard with 26 disposals and 2 goals. Well, Robbie Gray had a lazy 28 and kicked the goal. 17 of those disposals were handballs. Anyways, let's look at the goal kickers. Charlie Dixon kicked 5 for the Power. Jesse Hogan kicked 3 for Melbourne. Aaron Young also kicked 2 for the Power. Jack Watts with 2 against, well, the side has got interest in him. Jarman MP kicked 2 and Max for the Power. And already mentioned Max Gawn kicking 2 for Melbourne. Anyways, we move on to the next fixture. St Kilda and Fremantle at Etihad Stadium. At some stage in the at 3/4 time, it looked like Fremantle were finally going to be on the board. And then come last quarter, St Kilda would run away with it to win by 34 points. Let's look at the player stats quickly for the Saints. Oh boy, what a game from David Armitage. 28 disposals, 17 tackles and a goal. If he can continue to show great form like this, I reckon David Armitage might actually captain St Kilda one day. Nick Rewalt with 24 touches, 11 marks and 2 goals. Jack Stephen with 32 and a goal. Another BOG performance from him. Freo's best was Lachie Neale with 31 disposals, 20 of them being handballs and a goal. For goal kickers, Tim Membry kicked 3 for St Kilda. So did Paddy McCartan and Josh Bruce with 2 each. Lockie Weller, Matt Taberner and Ed Langdon all kicked 2 for the Dockers. Now we got the Dreamtime game. Essendon versus Richmond at the MCG. Well, this has got to be one of the worst Dreamtime games I've ever seen. Brendan Goddard was Essendon's best with 34 disposals, 5 tackles and a point. Richmond's best was Dustin Martin, 38 disposals and 10 marks. Now for the goal kickers. Ty Vickery with 3. Brett Delanio with 3. Well, welcome back, lads. Jack Rewalt with 2. Sam Lloyd with 2 and Sean Grigg with 2. And Trent Cotchin with 2 as well. Now for the Bombers. Darcy Parish 2. Orazio Fantasia 2. Joe Danaher 2. Mitch Brown 2. Well, Mark Jamar nearly kicked 2 goals for the Bombers. And he was an ex-Melbourne ruckman. And now we move on to the better Saturday night game. Adelaide and GWS at Adelaide Oval. What a game, Matt. What a game. The Crows were down by 2 at half time. Up by 2 at half time. Third quarter, they were looking pretty good. Last quarter, they still got it done. What a goal that was from Eddie Betts. Eddie Betts! Anyways, let's move on to the fantasy points. Well, GWS's best player was Josh Kelly. 28 disposals, 8 marks, 6 tackles and a goal. Dylan Shill had another great game himself. 29 disposals, 7 marks and 2 goals. Anyways, Adelaide's best on ground was Tex Walker. 18 disposals, 10 marks, and 5 goals. Now we move on to the other goal kickers. Eddie Betts, 2 kicked 5 for the Crows. Toby Green kicked 3 for the Giants. And Tom Scully also kicked 2 for the Giants. I think Adelaide are pretty much well and truly back in contention for 2016. Now we move on to the next game. Carlton and Geelong at Etihad Stadium. What a poor game that was for the Cats. And I expected them to win. And yet, well, they're playing like absolutely, they're on fraud watch right now, this Geelong team. I think Dangerfield in midfield, although he's had 31 disposals and 18 handballs. He's currently on my not winning the Brownlow medal watch. As I'm probably thinking maybe Tom Mitchell might win the Brownlow medal this year in 2016. Bryce Gibbs had a great game, though. 34 disposals and 2 goals. Another great one from Ed Curnow. 29 touches and a goal and 9 tackles. For the other goal kickers, Andres Everett kicked 4 for Carlton. Dennis Armfield. Tennis! AKA my potential future 12 Resi's teammate, kicked 3. Sorry, this is still 2016. Sorry to my soon-to-be football team watching this. Well, at least it's only 2016. Anyways, we'll try to edit that bit out. Anyways, back to the goal kickers. Motlop with 2 for Geelong. Guthrie with 2 and Gregson. While Daniel Gorridge kicked 2 for Carlton in this match. So did Bryce Gibbs. Anyways, let's go back to the match. Collingwood and the Bulldogs at the MCG. Oh, Collingwood looked like they were going to win the game, and then... Jesus Christ. The Collingwood party bus. More like the Collingwood emergency ambulance. Well, they basically had a lot of injuries in this game against the Dogs. Anyways, let's move on to the stats. Jack McRae had a great game with 32 disposals and 10 tackles. So did 37 and a goal for Luke Dowhouse. Collingwood's best was Scott Pendlebury, 32 disposals and a goal. Other goal kicker, well, although Jack Redpath, Josh Dunkley and Tory Dixon, and he only have multiple goal kickers for the Dogs. Collingwood only had 1 multiple goal kicker the whole game. Darcy Moore. And he kicked 2. Next game, we're off to Perth. West Coast and Gold Coast. What comment? What are these comments from Rodney Eade saying Gold Coast to make the 8 in 2016? They've lost 7 in a row. They're making losing a bit of a habit. Although Gary Ablett had a great game himself with 32 disposals and 8 tackles. Dion Prestia had 27 disposals that game and 8 tackles. Man, I feel so sorry for Gary Ablett in this one. Gaza, if you're watching this, if you want to save your career and save a bit of what's left of your dignity, I recommend for you to go back to Geelong. Because at least that way you can be able to at least compete in the finals. Scott Lysette had 15 disposals, 22 hitouts and 2 goals for the Eagles. Anyways, let's move on to the multiple goal kickers. Kennedy 5. LaCroix 3. Darling 3. While the Suns only got Martin and Lynch kicking 2 goals, the other one for the Eagles kicking 2 was Jamie Cripps. Anyways, now we move on to the ladder. Well, North Melbourne are still on top. They've actually lost a match. Sydney are second, 8 and 2. This could be the potential grand final. The teams between 3rd and 7th have won 7 games, which are Geelong, Giants, Eagles, Bulldogs, Hawthorn. Adelaide are 6th and 4 and 8th. Melbourne set in 9th with a 5 and 5 record, so did Port Adelaide. But Melbourne's got the better percentage. Well, also Carlton are 5 and 5. 12th is Collingwood with a 4 and 6 record. Same number of wins as St Kilda and Richmond. But there's no change in the bottom 4 between Gold Coast, Brisbane, Essendon and Dockers. Anyways, we move on to round 11. North Melbourne versus Richmond at Bloodstone Arena on Friday night. Well, this is unusual. Friday night footy in Tassie. I reckon that Rose should be able to get it done by 41 points. Hawthorn versus Melbourne at the MCG. Oh, come on. Hawthorn surely has to win this game. by 50 points. Carlton and Brisbane at Etihad Stadium. I'm going to Blues by 67. Geelong and Giants at Centred Stadium. I reckon the Cats should be able to bounce back because they're at home. I've got a feeling I reckon it'll be Geelong by 1 point. Gold Coast and Sydney at Metricon Stadium. I think the weather's going to be really bad in this game. I'm going the Swans in a classic by 10 points. Because of the weather. Fremantle and Essendon at Subiaco Oval. Surely Fremantle have to win this. So they can avoid going 0-11. I'm probably leaning towards a draw. Collingwood and Port Adelaide at the MCG. Port Adelaide by 44 points. Bulldogs and West Coast at Etihad Stadium. I reckon the Dogs will get it done by a point. Adelaide and St Kilda at Adelaide Oval. The Saints hate travelling. I reckon the Cries will get it done by 100 points. Considering it's an Adelaide home fortress. And we'll see you in this next episode for round 12. When bye weeks are approaching.